You're right there guys, so welcome back to another video, and in this one we're going to be creating a very basic weather app using Flutter. We're also going to be using a service called Open Weather API, and that allows us to get data from that API such as the current weather conditions for today. This video is going to be a very simple video. It's not going to be complicated at all. I just want to keep it really simple for beginners. As you can see here, we've got our emulator up and running, and I suggest that you get that up and running right now, or use your physical device to do some testing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The first thing we need to do is go ahead and create our Flutter project. I'm using Visual Studio Code. Feel free to use whatever you want. I'm going to open up a new terminal and navigate to my documents folder, because that's where my projects are. And to create a Flutter project, it's Flutter create. We're also going to add Android X in here. I'm not going to go too much into this, but you'll thank me later for it. So we'll add that in there, and then we're going to name our project, which is just going to be a weather app. Press enter, and it's going to go ahead and create our app for us. Now let's open up that folder that we've just created, and let's go to open folder, weather app, and select it. And then let's go to our live folder, main.dart. This is where our main code is going to be. And what I like to do is start from scratch. So I'm going to Control A to select it all and delete. We're going to import package Flutter material.dart. Alright. We're just going to write the basic code in here. Void main run app. We're going to add a material app to that. Give it a title. Weather app. The home is just, we're going to create a class in a second. We're going to add home in there. It's going to come up with an error because we've not created it yet. So let's go ahead and do that now. Class home. It's going to extend a stateful widget. Override widget build. No, I'm sorry, not that right now. Stateful widget. Create state. And then we're just going to return home state, like so. Again, it's going to come with an error because we've not created this. Class home state. It's going to extend state home. And then let's just rename that. Override. And then we're going to create our build method in here. We need a build context. And this is where our scaffold is going to be. So return scaffold, like so. What we're going to do first is create the UI, and then after we've done that, we can go ahead and pull in data from the API. So inside our scaffold, for the body, it's just going to be a column. We're going to add some children to that. We're going to create a container first. We'll set the height to media query.of context.size.height. This is where we get our height. Have that by 3. For the width, it's going to be media query.of context.size.width. That's just going to get the width of the device. Okay, we're just going to set the color for now. The color is going to be, let's just set it to red. And then the child is going to be another column. Add some children to that. Alright, so we're going to need 3 text widgets. So I'm going to go ahead and create that right now. But we need some padding. So let's create a padding widget. Padding is going to be edge insets dot only. Could spell it right. We're going to add some padding to the bottom only, and this is just going to be 10. For the child, it's going to be a text widget. And this is just going to be, we're just going to set this to Boston, no, weather let's set it to currently in Boston. Let's add some styling. Text style widget. Let's set the color to white. The font size, we're going to set this to 14, and then the font weight is going to be font weight.w 600. Alright, so we're going to need another text widget, and let's just add I've got my notes up here, let me just have a look quickly. We've got a Unicode as well to add the degree symbol. I'm just going to copy this and let's just say 52. Obviously it's not very accurate. This code right here is going to come up with the degree symbol. I'm going to need some styling to this. That's in the padding widget. Let's just move that out like so. Style. Let's just clean this up. Alright, style, text style. Let's set the color to white, the font size to 40, font weight to 600, like so. I'm just going to copy this padding here, this padding widget, because this contains our text widget, and then we're just going to change this bottom padding to top, so it's just going to add padding to the top. Let's set this to just rain. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and run it on my emulator now. So I've got to open up a new terminal first, and we'll type Flutter run, press enter, and then in a second it should come up on the emulator. Now that you can see that it's up and running on the app, you can tell that we definitely need to sort this out because it's not centered, and that's a very easy fix. Let's go back to our code, and for the column we need to add some properties. The main axis alignment, this is going to be centered, and same with the cross axis alignment. Okay, cross axis alignment dot center. Okay, let's save that and refresh. There we go, centered. Before continuing with our UI, I think it's best to go ahead and add some libraries to our app. And the first one's going to be the Font Awesome library. And what this is basically a set of icons that you can use in your app. And the second one is going to be the HTTP library, which allows you to do HTTP requests. This is really easy to install. Just go to these URLs, and it's just going to come up with this page, readme. Let's go to installing. I'm just going to copy this, go back to our Visual Studio Code, and we need to open the pubspec.yaml, and under dependencies we're just going to paste that in there. Let's go back to our HTTP library. We're going to copy this, and we're also going to paste that in there. Click save, well not click save, but save the file, and it's just going to do its thing. Alright, so now we've added the dependencies. To be able to use these, let's go to the Font Awesome one, go to the bottom, and we're going to have to import this into our main.dart file. So that's the Font Awesome, go to the HTTP, we're also going to import that, paste that in there. Let's also import convert. You don't need to add this to the dependencies because I'm pretty sure it's already included. This is just going to be dart convert, like so. Save that, and there we go. We've got all our libraries. There's one more thing that we need to do in order to get this up and running, and that's to uninstall the app and reinstall it. You might be confused as to why. Because for some reason Font Awesome, if you try adding an icon right now, it's not going to show, and I don't know why, but if you uninstall and then reinstall the app, then the icons will show. So let's go to our emulator. Just going to close this app. Then I'm going to uninstall it. Press OK. Okay, now that's uninstalled. Let's do Flutter run to reinstall it. Alright. Now let's add more widgets to our UI. Let's go to our... yeah, we need to go to our main column widgets. And under container, we're going to add a expanded widget. For the child, it's going to be a padding widget. I'm going to set the padding to 20. And then the child is going to be a list view. Let's add some children to that. And now we're just going to add some list tiles. Alright, for the leading, this is just going to be a font awesome icon. And I've got my notes up here again. Let's just copy this one, just for the time being. In fact, no, I'm going to write it out. So FA icon, and then font awesome icons dot thermometer half. For the title, this is just going to be text. This is going to be temperature. And for the trailing, let's just set this to I don't know, 52. Obviously it's not going to be very accurate. We need a text widget there. 52. And then we're going to add the degree symbol. U00 B0. Okay. Oh, that's the wrong one. It's supposed to be that. Alright, let's just save that and refresh. Alright, as you can see, we've got our list tile. I'm going to copy this 3 times. Copy 1, 2, 3. And we're just going to change these values. Let's change this to cloud. Set this to weather. And let's just set that to weather as well. These are hard coded at the moment. Obviously this is going to change with dynamic values. For the next one, change this to sun, humidity. Let's just set this to 12, I don't know. And then the last one's going to be wind speed. Let's change this to wind. And let's set that to 12 as well. Obviously, again, it's not going to be the right values. We can get dynamic values in a little bit. Let's just refresh. Okay. And now let's move on to actually grabbing the data from the API. So I'm going to go to the top here. We're now going to create some properties, and then we're going to create a method to actually get the weather data. And underneath here, we're going to create those right now. So var temp, this is going to be the temperature. And the reason I'm using var instead for the data type instead of like string, boolean, or double is because we don't know what data we're going to get back. And if it's going to be a double stored into a string, then we're going to get some problems. So it's easier to do it this way. So var temp, var description, var currently, var humidity, and then var wind speed, like so. Alright, let's go ahead and create our method. This is going to be a future, get weather. It's going to be async. And we're also, I forgot to tell you this, at the top where it says, where we're importing this HTTP package, we're going to set this to as HTTP. Alright, so HTTP dot response is equal to await HTTP dot get. This is where our URL is going to be and our API key. So let's head on over to openweathermap.org, and you're going to need to sign in. If you don't have an account, go ahead and create one. I'm going to log in. Now that we've logged in, let's go to API keys, and this is where your API key is going to be. You're going to need these, so make sure you do have an account. Now I'm going to open up this API in a new tab. I'm going to use this current weather data API, so click this API doc, and then here I'm just going to use the first API call, so I'm going to copy that and then paste that in here like so. And you can see we've got our API key. This is where your API key is supposed to go, and then the city. Let's go back to the website, and I'm going to use the default API key here. Let's just copy that and paste that in there. And then here for the city, put whatever you want. I'm just going to put Boston. Oops, spelled that wrong. And there we go, we've got all the information about the weather in Boston. Okay, so let's copy this URL because we've already added the information that we need, and go back to Visual Studio Code, and inside get, add quotations and put that in there like so. We're going to create a variable called results. This is going to be equal to response. No, I'm sorry, it's going to be JSON decode. We're going to add response.body. Okay, and now we can set the state, and what this does is basically, to put it in simple terms, it's going to refresh and set the like the temperature, the condition, etc. So let's add set state, and we're going to assign data to these variables so we can use these variables in our UI. And what I'm going to do right now is just copy and paste some code. I don't usually do this, but I just want to save some time, and it's pretty easy to write. So I'm just going to copy this and paste this in here. Feel free to pause the video and just copy this down. But what this is essentially doing is getting the data and storing it in these variables. So for the temperature, it's going to be results main temp. And if you're not too sure what's going on here, let me just give you an example. So let's go back to our API here, and for the temperature, if we want to get the temperature, it's going to be in main and then temp. So main temp. Let me just show you again. Main temp. It's a little bit different for the getting the description, because I've added this here. This is just an index, because you can see. So if we go back to weather, so we're having weather, and then this index, which is like 0, starts at 0, and then the description. Alright. Hopefully that isn't too confusing, but if it is, I can always do a video on JSON in the future. But if you go ahead and just write this down, it's going to achieve the exact same thing, and you should have no problems. Now what we need to do is create our init state method, and what this does basically is it runs anything inside that method first. So let's go ahead and create that. So override void init state super.init state, and then we're just going to call the method get weather, and that's all we need to do for that. And we're just about done. All we need to do now is change the hard-coded values with the proper values, and we're also going to check if every single value is null. And the reason we're doing that is because we don't want any errors. We're also going to convert every single value to a string, and the reason why is because we don't know what data type we're bringing back, and we just want to make sure we're not going to get any errors because we're trying to add a double value to a text widget. So we're going to start off here first, which is the temperature. I'm going to remove that 52 and keep the degree symbol. And we're going to say temp does not equal to null. If it doesn't equal to null, then we're going to say temp.toString. And we're also going to append or concatenate this degree symbol. If it is null, we're just going to say loading. I'm going to do the same to rain. Currently does not equal null. If it doesn't, it's going to be currently.toString. Otherwise, I'm just going to set it to loading. Alright. Now we're going to move on to the list tiles. Let's set the temperature. Let's remove this. Alright, so temp does not equal null. If it doesn't, temp.toString, then concatenate that. Otherwise, loading. And then same with the weather. I believe this is the description. Okay, so let's change this. Description does not equal null. If it doesn't, description.toString, otherwise loading. Same with the humidity. I don't know what happened there. Alright, humidity does not equal null. If it doesn't, humidity to text. Sorry, toString. Otherwise loading. And then same again for this one. Wind speed does not equal null. Wind speed.toString. Otherwise loading. Okay, I'm going to save that. Let's go to our emulator. I'm just going to do a hot refresh. Let's see if it works. Okay, so it's worked. So currently in Boston, we've got the temperature, which we're going to change, and I'll show you how. We've got clouds, temperature, overcast clouds, humidity is 70, wind speed 6.7. Let's go back to our code. And we need to add one more thing into our URL. And if you're in America, we're going to use imperial. So after the location, we're just going to add a and sign. Units is equal to imperial. And then that's pretty much it. So save and refresh. Okay, so that's looking a lot better. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. Now that you've created this app, you can do whatever you want with it, knock yourself out. I mean, the API that we're using allows you to use more things. For example, like the coordinates, the sunrise, sunset, etc. So go ahead and check that out and expand on the project. Obviously, this video could have been a little bit better. For example, at the top when we're receiving our results, we could have checked for the status code to see if we've got anything back or any errors, or etc. But I just wanted to keep this as simple as possible for beginners, just to get the foot in the door. And yeah, so once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.